Bank manager tore up a single dad's $10 million check. Then her boss said, "Sir." The line inside the bank wasn't quiet. It never was. A printer jammed somewhere behind the counter. A woman argued into her phone about interest rates like they were a personal betrayal. Coins clinked. Shoes squeaked. A child somewhere coughed too hard, the way kids do when they don't know when to stop. And right in the middle of it all, a man stood holding a folded check in his jacket pocket like it might disappear if he loosened his grip. "Dad?" a small voice whispered. He looked down immediately. That was his instinct now. Always down first. "Yes, buddy?" The boy tugged gently at his sleeve, careful not to wrinkle it. "Is this the place where they keep the money, or the place where they decide if you're allowed to have it?" The man blinked once, then smiled. "That," he said softly, "is a very good question." The boy, 7, maybe 8, with hair that refused to lie flat and sneakers that had seen better months, nodded seriously, like he was storing that answer away for later use. They stood near the back of the line. Not because they'd arrived late. Because when you don't look important, people slide in front of you without even realizing they've done it. The man didn't correct anyone. He rarely did anymore. His jacket was clean but old. The kind that had survived 3 winters and at least 1 emergency stitch in the elbow. His shoes were polished but the soles were thin. He'd shaved carefully that morning, even though the razor had been dull and his wrist still ached from yesterday's shift. He looked fine. Which, in places like this, often meant invisible. "Dad," the boy said again, quieter now. "Are you nervous?" The man exhaled through his nose. "A little." "Me too," the boy admitted. Then added, "But you always say nervous just means something matters." The man closed his eyes for half a second. "Did I say that?" "You say it when you think I'm asleep." That got a real smile out of him. He crouched down so they were eye level. "Hey, no matter what happens in there, we're okay. Got it?" The boy studied his face the way only kids can, searching not for lies but for certainty. "Okay," he said. Then after a beat, "But if they say no, we still get pancakes, right?" The man laughed under his breath. "Especially if they say no." That satisfied him. They moved forward another step as the line crept along. The man's fingers brushed the edge of the check again, through the fabric of his jacket. It was real. He checked it 5 times that morning. Earlier that day the apartment had woken before the sun. Not because they wanted to, but because the radiator had decided today was the day to scream like it was being murdered. "Dad," the boy had groaned from his room. "The wall is yelling again." "I know," the man muttered, already halfway out of bed. "Tell it I said good morning." The kitchen light flickered when he turned it on. He waited a second then flicked it again. "Don't die," he warned it gently. The fridge was almost empty. Not dramatic empty. Just quiet. Milk low. Eggs counted. Bread nearing its end. He made oatmeal. Added cinnamon like it was a luxury. Sliced the last banana carefully so it looked like more. The boy shuffled in, hair wild, wearing a superhero t-shirt that had faded from red to something closer to pink. "Is it a big day?" the boy asked around a yawn. The man hesitated. "Yes," he said finally. "It is." "Good big or scary big?" "Both," he admitted. The boy nodded like that made sense. "Okay. I'll bring my lucky socks." He had. Well, one had a hole in the toe. The man had packed the check in a manila envelope and then taken it out again. Folded it. Unfolded it. Read the number one more time even though it hadn't changed. $10 million, $10 million. He didn't feel like a man holding $10 million. He felt like a man who needed the bank to believe him. Back in the bank next. The voice came sharp and clipped. They were at the front now. The boy straightened his posture the way he did when he wanted to be taken seriously. The man placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "It's okay," he whispered. They approached the counter. The woman behind it didn't look up right away. Her nails were immaculate. Her hair was tight. Her expression suggested she'd already decided how the day would go, and this wasn't part of the plan. "Yes," she said finally, eyes flicking up, then immediately down again. The man slid the envelope forward carefully. "Good morning. I'd like to deposit a check." That got her attention. She took the envelope, pulled the check out, and paused. Actually paused. Her eyebrow lifted. Just slightly. Then she laughed. It wasn't loud. But it wasn't kind either. "This is a mistake," she said. The man kept his voice even. "It isn't." She looked at him properly now. Jacket. Face. Then down at the check again. "Sir," she said, tapping the paper once with her nail, "this is for $10 million. "I know." There was a beat. The line behind them quieted. Not completely, but enough. The boy leaned closer to his dad. "Is that a lot?" he whispered. The man smiled without looking away from the teller. "It is." The woman's lips pressed together. "And you expect me to believe this is legitimate?" "Yes," the man said. "Because it is." She scoffed softly. "Do you have any idea how many fraudulent checks we see?" "I'm sure it's a lot." She turned the check around, scrutinizing it like she wanted it to confess. "And where," she asked, "did you get $10 million? The man didn't rise to it. Didn't snap. Didn't posture. He simply said, "From work." That did it. She laughed again, louder this time. People turned. "Sir," she said, her voice carrying now, "unless you're the CEO of something you forgot to mention, I suggest you take this joke elsewhere." The man felt his son stiffen beside him. "It's not a joke," he said calmly. Her eyes flicked to the boy. Then back to him. "Is this some kind of lesson?" she asked. "Because involving a child in this is incredibly inappropriate." The man's jaw tightened, just a fraction. "My son is here because I don't have child care," he said evenly. "Not because I'm playing games." She leaned back in her chair. "I'm not processing this," she said flatly. The man nodded once. "Then I'd like to speak to a manager." Her smile thinned. "I am the manager." The word manager landed heavy. The boy looked up at his dad, eyes wide but trusting. "Dad." "It's okay," the man murmured. The woman picked up the check again. Held it between two fingers. "You know what happens when we accept fraudulent instruments?" she asked. "Police reports. Investigations. Very embarrassing things." The man met her gaze. "Then you should verify it." She stared at him for a long second. Then she tore it. Right down the middle. Gasps rippled through the line. The boy sucked in a breath. The woman dropped the two halves onto the counter like they were trash. "There," she said. "Problem solved. Security will escort you out." For the first time the man's heart actually pounded. Not with anger. With something colder. Irreversible. He didn't shout. Didn't beg. He simply looked down at the torn check. Then at his son. And placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "It's okay," he said softly. "We're still getting pancakes." The boy nodded. But his eyes stayed on the counter. Behind them a security guard was already moving. And somewhere, far above this floor, a different decision was about to be made. If this story made you feel something real, subscribe for more stories where ordinary people reveal extraordinary strength. "Sir, step away from the counter." The security guard's voice wasn't angry. It was worse. Practiced. The kind of voice that didn't ask questions because it didn't expect answers. The man didn't move right away. Not because he was resisting. Because his son's hand had tightened around his sleeve. "Dad," the boy whispered, confused more than afraid. "Did we do something bad?" "No," the man said instantly. "We didn't." The woman behind the counter crossed her arms. "Security, I need them escorted out. Immediately." "Ma'am," the guard said, glancing between the man and the torn pieces of paper on the counter. "What seems to be the issue?" "Fraud," she replied. Loudly. Clearly. Like she wanted the word to echo. "Attempted deposit of a fake check." The word fake floated in the air longer than it should have. A man in line muttered, "Figures." Someone else snorted. 10 million, yeah right. The man finally spoke. "Please," he said calmly, "I asked you to verify it." The woman scoffed. "Sir, you don't get to dictate procedure." "I'm not dictating," he said. "I'm requesting." She leaned forward, lowering her voice just enough to make it sting. "You should have requested a better printer." A few people laughed. Not loudly. Not proudly. But enough. The boy looked around, eyes darting from face to face, trying to understand why strangers suddenly felt heavier. "Dad," he whispered, "why are they laughing?" The man swallowed once. "Sometimes people laugh when they're uncomfortable." "That's silly," the boy said. "Yes," the man agreed. "It is." The security guard shifted his weight. "Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me." "Before that," the man said, still calm, still measured, "I want this noted." The woman rolled her eyes. "Noted where?" "In your imagination." The man ignored her and looked directly at the guard. "My name is Daniel Carter. I attempted to deposit a legitimate check issued by a registered holding firm. It was destroyed without verification. I am requesting a record of that action." The guard blinked. "What?" Then again. "That's not something I handle," he said carefully. "Then I'd like someone who does." The woman slapped her palm on the counter. "Enough," she snapped. You don't get to make demands here. Daniel turned back to her, voice still steady. I'm not making demands. I'm asking for accountability. That word, accountability, shifted something. The woman straightened. Her smile was gone now. You walked in here dressed like that, she said, eyes scanning him openly, with a child in tow, waving around a piece of paper worth more than this entire branch's weekly intake. And you expect me to believe you deserve special handling? Daniel didn't flinch. I expect the same handling as anyone else, he said. She laughed sharply. That is the same handling. The boy frowned. Dad, what does deserve mean? Daniel crouched slightly, keeping his eyes on the woman but angling his body toward his son. It means people think they get to decide who matters, he said gently. The woman scoffed again. I'm not doing this in front of a child. Then stop, Daniel replied. That earned a murmur from the crowd. The guard cleared his throat. Ma'am, maybe we could. No, she cut in. I'm not backing down because someone brought their kid for sympathy. Daniel straightened fully now. My son is not a tactic, he said quietly. He's my life. For a second, just a second, the noise in the bank dipped. Then someone behind them said, if he had 10 million, he wouldn't be here. Another voice added, probably stole it. The boy's shoulders hunched. Dad, he whispered, are they talking about us? Daniel took a slow breath. They are. But that doesn't mean they're right. The woman leaned closer, voice dripping condescension. You know what happens next, sir? You leave. And if you come back with another check, we call the police. Daniel looked at the torn pieces again. I won't be coming back with anything, he said. Good. I'll be coming back with someone. That got her attention. She smiled thinly. Oh, and who would that be? Daniel met her eyes. Someone who understands what they just destroyed. Her smile faltered just a hair. Then she laughed it off. Security. The guard hesitated this time. Daniel noticed. Can I say one more thing? Daniel asked him, not her. The guard glanced at the manager. She gave a sharp nod. Quickly, she said. Daniel knelt fully now, bringing himself eye level with his son. You remember what we talked about? He asked softly. The boy nodded. About being calm when people are loud. That's right. And about not yelling even when your chest feels tight. Yes. Daniel smiled. You're doing really well. The boy swallowed. I don't like this place. I know, Daniel said. We're almost done. The boy hesitated, then whispered, did they really tear it because they thought you were lying? Daniel paused. Yes, he said honestly. That's not fair. No, Daniel agreed. It isn't. The guard cleared his throat again. Sir, we need to go. Daniel stood. As he turned, the woman spoke one last time, loud enough for everyone to hear. Next time, she said, try honesty. It goes a long way. Daniel stopped. Didn't turn around right away. When he did, his voice was quiet, but carried. I have been honest my entire life, he said. People just didn't believe me because it was inconvenient. The room went still. Then a phone rang. Not a personal ringtone. A landline. The woman glanced at it, annoyed. Not now. It rang again, more insistent. She sighed and picked it up. This is the branch manager speaking. She listened. Her posture changed. Excuse me, she said sharply. Daniel felt it, not hope. Not relief. Something heavier. The guard felt it too. The woman's eyes flicked, once toward the torn check on the counter. Then to Daniel. Then back to the phone. Yes, she said slowly. He's still here. Silence. Her face drained of color. I understand, she said, voice suddenly thin. Yes, of course. She hung up. The room held its breath. She looked at Daniel like she was seeing him for the first time. Sir, she said. The word sounded different now. And somewhere upstairs, someone was already on their way down. The woman behind the counter cleared her throat. Sir, she said again. The word had weight now. It didn't float. It landed. Daniel didn't answer right away. Not because he was savoring it, but because he was focused on his son who was still gripping his sleeve like the world might slide out from under him if he let go. Yes. Daniel said finally. There's been a misunderstanding, the woman said. Daniel tilted his head slightly. Has there? Her jaw tightened. If you'll just wait here a moment. We've been waiting, Daniel replied. Come. Flat. The security guard shifted again, suddenly uncertain where to stand. He glanced toward the office doors at the back of the bank. The boy whispered, Dad, why is her voice different? Daniel leaned down just enough. Because someone else is listening now. The landline rang again. She didn't answer it this time. The glass doors at the rear of the branch swung open. And everything changed, not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. A woman stepped out. Mid-40s. Calm posture. No rush in her stride. Her blazer wasn't flashy, but it fit like it belonged there. Her eyes scanned the room the way someone does when they already know what they're looking for. The manager stiffened. "Ms. Alvarez," she said quickly. "I wasn't expecting—" "I know," the woman said pleasantly. "That's why I came myself." The murmur started immediately. "That's corporate." "No way." "Why is she here?" Ms. Alvarez walked straight past the counter. Straight toward Daniel. The security guard stepped aside without thinking. Ms. Alvarez stopped an arm's length away and looked at Daniel, not at his jacket, not at his shoes, not at the child. At him. "Mr. Carter?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Yes." She smiled. Not wide. Not performative. Relieved. "I'm Sofia Alvarez," she said. "Senior Regional Director." Daniel extended his hand. "Daniel Carter." She shook it firmly. Then looked down. "And you must be Eli," the boy said quickly. "I'm 8. I like pancakes and trains." Sophia laughed softly. "That's an excellent combination." The manager stepped forward, voice sharp with forced confidence. "Ms. Alvarez, I can explain." Sophia raised a hand without looking at her. "Not yet." The silence that followed was thick. Sophia turned back to Daniel. "I understand a check issued to you was destroyed." Daniel nodded once. "It was. Without verification." "Yes." Sophia inhaled slowly. "How much was it for?" she asked. Daniel answered plainly. $10 million. The crowd reacted this time, audibly. Someone whispered, "It's real?" The manager's face flushed. "Ms. Alvarez," he presented it under suspicious circumstances. Sophia turned then. Slowly. "Explain," she said. The manager straightened. He appeared without an appointment, dressed informally with a child. "The check value was excessive. I suspected fraud." "And your response?" "I followed protocol." Sophia's eyebrow lifted. "Which protocol includes destroying negotiable instruments?" The manager faltered. "I acted to protect the institution." Sophia nodded. "Interesting." She turned to Daniel again. "Mr. Carter, can you tell me where the check came from?" Daniel didn't hesitate. "It was issued by North Shore Infrastructure Holdings. Payment for contract completion." Sophia smiled faintly. "Which contract?" "The Cascade Bridge Reinforcement Project." Her smile grew just a touch. "That contract finished 6 weeks early," she said. "Under budget." Daniel nodded. "Yes, ma'am." The manager swallowed. Sophia turned back to her. "Do you know who signed that check?" The manager shook her head. "I did," Sophia said. The room went dead quiet. Daniel felt Eli's fingers loosen slightly. "You signed it?" the manager whispered. "Yes," Sophia said. "After reviewing Mr. Carter's work personally." The manager's voice cracked. "But he is the lead engineer," Sophia finished. "And one of the most quietly competent professionals we've worked with in years." Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "I was part of a team." Sophia smiled at him. "That tracks." She turned back to the manager. "You destroyed a legitimate $10 million check," Sophia said evenly. "In front of witnesses. And his child." The manager opened her mouth. Closed it. "I want your badge," Sophia said. "What?" "Your badge. And your access card." The manager stared. "You can't." "I can," Sophia replied. "And I am." The manager's hands trembled as she unclipped the badge. "I was protecting the bank," she said weakly. Sophia took the badge. "You were protecting your assumptions." She gestured to the security guard. "Please escort her to HR." The guard hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, ma'am." As the manager was led away, she turned once. "I didn't know," she said to Daniel. "You should have said something." Daniel met her eyes. "I did." She looked away. The doors closed behind her. The bank exhaled. Sophia turned back to Daniel. "I'm very sorry," she said. "This should never have happened." Daniel nodded. "Thank you for saying that." She crouched slightly to Eli's level. "Are you okay?" Eli thought about it, then nodded. "I think so. But she was mean." Sophia smiled gently. "She was wrong. And that matters." She straightened. "We'll reissue the check immediately." And assign you a private banker. Daniel hesitated. That won't be necessary. Sophia blinked. Excuse me? I just want to deposit it, he said. And go home. She studied him for a moment, then smiled wider. Of course you do. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. For what it's worth, I'm glad it was you today. Daniel smiled faintly. Me too. Eli tugged his sleeve. Dad. Yes, buddy? Can we still get pancakes? Daniel laughed quietly. Yes. Sophia chuckled. On me? Daniel raised an eyebrow. You don't have to, I want to, she said. Consider it an apology with syrup. He smiled. Then we accept. As they turned to leave, Sophia called after him. Mr. Carter? Yes. She smiled softly. Welcome. Not to the bank. To something bigger. The train rocked gently as it pulled away from the platform. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just steady, like it had somewhere important to go, but wasn't in a rush to prove it. Daniel sat by the window, his shoulder pressed lightly against the glass. Eli sat beside him, legs swinging, holding a paper bag with both hands like it contained something fragile. Dad, Eli whispered. Yes. Is it okay if I eat one now, or do we wait till we get home? Daniel smiled. What's in the bag? Cookies. What kind? Eli peeked inside. Chocolate chip. But like, thick ones. Daniel nodded solemnly. Those require careful timing. Eli considered this. I think the train is a good place. I agree. Eli pulled one out carefully and took a bite. His eyes widened. Oh, he said softly. Oh wow. Daniel laughed quietly. That good? Eli nodded, chewing seriously. They taste like when things turn out okay. Daniel looked out the window so his son wouldn't see his face tighten. The city slid past them, buildings giving way to quieter streets, noise softening into something more manageable. Eli wiped his hands on his napkin. Dad. When that lady tore the check, I thought maybe you were gonna yell. Daniel thought about that. I wanted to, he said honestly. Why didn't you? Daniel shrugged gently. Because yelling wouldn't have helped. And because you were watching. Eli nodded slowly. I was. Did that make it harder? Daniel asked. Eli shook his head. No. It made it easier. Daniel looked at him. How so? Eli smiled a little. Because I knew you were being brave on purpose. Daniel let that sink in. The train rattled softly over the tracks. After a moment Eli said, Dad? Yes. Are we rich now? Daniel chuckled. Not yet. But someday? Someday, Daniel said. But we were already okay. Eli frowned. Even when the fridge was empty? Daniel smiled. Especially then. They rode the rest of the way mostly quiet, Eli watching the world blur by, Daniel thinking about how strange it felt to breathe again. The apartment greeted them with the familiar hum of the radiator and the flickering kitchen light that still hadn't forgiven them for existing. Eli kicked off his shoes. Home smells like dust and toast. Daniel laughed. That's our brand. They moved through the routine like a well-practiced dance. Backpacks hung. Jackets folded. Cookies placed carefully on the counter like something ceremonial. Daniel poured milk into two mismatched glasses. Dad, Eli said leaning against the counter. Are you proud of yourself? Daniel paused. I'm proud of us, he said. Eli beamed. They sat at the small kitchen table, warm yellow light pooling around them. Eli swung his legs again. That lady, the nice one, what was her name? Sophia. She smiled like she meant it. She did, Daniel said. Eli hesitated. Do you think she'll come back? Daniel raised an eyebrow. To the apartment? No, Eli said quickly. I mean, like, into our lives. Daniel laughed softly. I don't know, buddy. Eli nodded. That's okay. I just wondered. Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. A message. Sophia just checking in. Hope pancakes were excellent. Daniel smiled despite himself. Eli noticed immediately. Who's that? Daniel held up the phone. Remember the lady who signed the check? Eli's eyes lit up. The syrup apology lady? That's her. What did she say? Daniel read it aloud. Eli grinned. Did you answer? Not yet. Eli leaned forward conspiratorially. You should say, they were very good. Eli says thank you. Daniel typed. Daniel, they were perfect. Eli says thank you, and that trains are still his favorite. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Sophia. Tell Eli trains are underrated. And that I'm glad today ended quietly. Daniel smiled. Eli watched his face closely. You're smiling like when Mom used to sing in the kitchen. Daniel's chest tightened, but he kept his voice steady. She had a good smile. She did, Eli said. Then added gently, yours is good too. Daniel reached across the table and squeezed his son's hand. Later Eli lay curled in bed, one sock kicked halfway off. Daniel sat beside him, reading from a library book with a cracked spine. And the bear, Daniel read softly, realized the forest was big enough for everyone. Eli yawned. Dad. Yes. Today was scary, but also kinda nice. Daniel smiled. That's life sometimes. Will tomorrow be quiet? Daniel tucked the blanket up. I think so. Eli's eyes fluttered closed. Dad. Yes. Thanks for not yelling. Daniel swallowed. Always. Eli drifted off, breathing slow and even. Daniel stayed there for a while, just listening. Kitchen alone, the apartment was quiet now. The good kind. Daniel stood at the counter washing 2 glasses. The phone buzzed again. Sophia, I hope this isn't forward, but if you ever want coffee I'd like that. Daniel stared at the screen. No rush. No pressure. Just possibility. He typed slowly. Daniel, I'd like that too. Quietly. Pause. Then, Sophia, quiet is my favorite. Daniel set the phone down and leaned against the counter. The radiator hummed. The kitchen light flickered, but stayed on. He looked toward the hallway where his son slept. For the first time in a long while, the future didn't feel heavy. It felt warm. Like cookies cooling on the counter. Like a train ride home. Like belonging. If this story made you feel something real, subscribe for more stories where ordinary people reveal extraordinary strength. The end.